Welcome to this presentation of Augmented Reality. My name is Romain and I am absolutely passionate about this new topic, and let me show you why. So for those of you who don't know augmented reality, it's basically a technology that will superimpose a computer-generated image on a user's view of the real world, thus providing a composite view, which is basically this dinosaur in a shopping center somewhere in, I'm not sure where actually. Anyway, but yeah, this is what we are trying to achieve when we do augmented reality. Now, there are plenty of use cases, and I'm going to cover quite a few today. But first, I would like to cover a little bit of history to really make you understand where we are right now in terms of technology. So, we are in the fourth industrial revolution right now. And so where did it all start? The first revolution basically was it was basically the steam, right? So trains, etc. The second one was more about electricity. The third was about IT and electronics, and the fourth is more something to do with the Internet of Things, etc. And so we are right now in the fourth industrial revolution, which started about in the 90s, and so we've seen the rise of the internet, the social media, so Facebook, Twitter, etc. didn't really exist before, or not at all actually. We can now store everything in clouds, and we've seen companies like Uber, etc. emerge, and we're going towards a more autonomous era. If you want to know more about all of these and why the fourth transformation is very important, I do recommend The Fourth Transformation as a book. It will blow you away with everything that's going to happen in the next 5 years, pretty much. Right, so where did it all start? So it started there, and that was the IBM mainframe, so about 100 years ago already, actually. And you may have seen The Imitation Game, which is a movie that really explains how Alan Turing came up with the first computer, really. And so this is what it looked in real life. And if you wanted to be a developer, this is what you would have to do to code. So you would have to punch to basically to make some holes in those cards and then feed that into those big machines. And the computing power of these, as you can imagine, was actually very, very tiny compared to what we have today. Anyway, so that was ripe for a first transformation, which looks like this. Your computer has not gone weird. This is the slide I want to show you. So yeah, we basically had some text onto a screen, and then it got a little bit more refined, and they added some more colors, etc. But this was ripe for a second transformation, which Apple brought with the mouse, the keyboard, and the first GUI, so the first graphical user interface. And that was a big thing because it meant that we now had a desktop where we could drag and drop files, which is a lot more natural for human beings. So Windows has done really well, obviously, with their first GUI, etc. So Microsoft Windows has been leading, I guess, for a number of years. And this was all great, but there has been a third transformation, which has once again been brought by Apple, and that was the age of the smartphone. So this is already 10 years old. The first iPhone was released 10 years ago. We've obviously seen the iPhone 10, so 10 years later. Um, but yeah, the main difference really was that you could now take your emails, your photos, etc., on the go. And this little device that we now use and all day long, I think it's something like 6 hours a day. Um, yeah, we can't live without those things now. And something that's very important as well to mention is that we have had some changes in gestures. So the first iPhone brought what we have now, and that we think is very natural for us. But pinch and zoom or scrolling on a screen, that was actually very new, and this has been leading the emergence of this technology. And obviously, we've had since thousands and thousands and thousands of apps on the App Store. Uh, Two of those which are Uber and Airbnb. So now we have some billion-dollar industries that have been completely disrupted. So taxis and hotels. And that's what technology does, right? It will just disrupt what the status quo is. And we are now entering or already 1 foot in this fourth transformation. So this is basically today. And we have artificial intelligence, VR, and AR. And Pokemon Go has been very, very successful. And as you can see, over 1 billion downloads and lots of revenue, etc., etc. I'm not going to go into depth because I'm sure you know very well that Pokemon Go has been really successful. But nothing there hasn't really been an app that um, has disrupted the mobile market as much since. And this is over a year old already. So we we are ripe for even more disruption now. There's something that I want to bring to your attention as well, which is the fact that AR could be the eighth mass medium. And this would be after, so the first mass medium would have been print, then recording, so audio, then the cinema, which brought some moving images, and the radio, so the fact that you could broadcast sounds, that was actually quite huge at the time, and then broadcasting images with the TV, and then the internet and computers, and finally the seventh mass medium is mobile. And when you think about it, we are still using all of these right now. But this guy, Tommy Honen, has a really good TED Talk that's, I think, already 4 or 5 years old, actually. But this guy was already showing the IKEA, actually 2012. So you see that's 6 years ago already. And he was already convinced that augmented reality would become the eighth mass medium. And this idea is definitely coming from him. So I do recommend that you check this TED Talk if you haven't. It's mind-blowing how this guy is kind of a visionary to me. Anyway, so Tim Cook is jumping on this trend as well, where it's more than a trend, I guess. But yeah, he does regard AR as a big idea, like the smartphone. So if we go back here, these are the big ideas, and AR is not just adding on top of some apps. It's not like just gimmicks, basically. AR is a big idea, like the smartphone, and that's why Tim Cook is really convinced that this is really big, this is huge. And as he said, so he's very excited because of the things that could be done, and that could improve a lot of lives and entertaining as well. So it's not really a product, it's a core technology, just as we've seen with the last 7 mass mediums. Right. So Apple released ARKit about a year ago now. So I'm recording this at the end of March 2018. And when ARKit was launched in September 17, well, it was straight away the largest platform, the largest AR platform in the world, because, well, there are already 200 million devices that can run ARKit. Those devices are, so obviously we've got the latest and greatest iPhone X with face recognition and true depth sensors. But there are way more than that. So you can now have ARKit from the iPhone SE, 6S, 7, 8, and 10. I forgot to mention here, but obviously there are lots of iPads, and Apple just announced a new iPad for education as well. That's going to be $300, and that is also compatible with AR. So all the iPads, I think from 2017 up, are all compatible with ARKit as well. Finally, we have also some companies that are emerging, like Magic Leap, for example. So if you haven't heard about these guys, where have you been? This is a startup that raised just under $2 billion without any products, without any customers. Really, really big thing. So they probably started there. And if you think these glasses are ugly, yeah, this is where all the sensors and everything they had to put started to look like this first, and then yeah, they've made this a lot more compact. But as you can see, you also have to have some kind of a Discman or something like this on your belt. There has been some more AR glasses that have been introduced this year. So this was released in January, I think, January 2018 at CES. And they're basically adding AR into the real world. What I'm really, so this is fake, but this is where I think we are going. Clearly, Apple is working on some, well, there are some patents actually that they have filed, so you can check this is public. They are working on some AR glasses. Now, there's a big thing about user experience, and you may have seen something like this that is called Hyper Reality, which is a video on YouTube by Mr. Matsuda, I think. And this really is showing how this could go really wrong. This is kind of a nightmare future where everything everywhere is an advert, and you cannot avoid to get bombarded with offers, etc. And you actually, well, watch the video, try and find Hyper Reality on YouTube, and you'll see what I hope we will never reach. Anyway, so there are lots of industries that can be disrupted and will be disrupted with AR, and I'd like to cover some of them. So First, there's construction. Clearly, this is going to be a huge help for them to basically just to show the models in 3D. It's, architecture, etc. If you can see um, a model of your house or flat on your coffee table in front of you, you will experience this at a much higher level than if you were watching a video or just looking at some pictures, for example. It won't replace the visit, but you will save a lot of time by just, opening your iPad or mobile phone and the app to look around, basically. Education is going to be really big as well for AR. So we have seen a few apps already. So solar systems, for example, it's incredible to see the planets floating around in your flat. I do recommend to check them out. I've actually made one myself. Um, it's really big. It makes people understand, and I think that's the key finding here is that people will experience um, those apps and understand how the world works, etc., around them. You may also have seen this cute little frog at Apple's last event, the education event that was on 27th of March. But yeah, so I think it was CNET who said, buy an iPad, save a frog. So yeah, basically we can now get more done. You can dissect this frog 10 times in a row if you want, without killing any frog. And I think that's really good for the world of frogs. Navigation is going to be a big one as well. So this is in London. Well, actually, there's quite a lot of advertising there as well, but you can see where to go to Bethnal Green, Whitechapel, so you can see the directions. On the floor, you can see also where the north is, where is Hackney, Central, etc., and have some kind of a map as well in the top left corner to understand a little bit better where you are. And this is coming, guys. This is not so far away, actually. Next, automotive. So yeah, quite a lot to do there as well, where I think BMW have, I think this is a BMW. Anyway, so yeah, there's, you can check what your future car is going to look like. You can customize the color, the wheels, everything you want. Go and have a look inside. Put this on in your garage and see how it looks. Is it going to fit or not? And one last that I want to show you is medical, and I think this is going to be quite big as well when doctors can see exactly where the bone is or the liver, etc. That will make them a lot more accurate and remove some of the guesswork, obviously, when you can see through the patient and see exactly where the different organs, etc., are. It's going to be very, very helpful. Okay, so I now want to give you a brief overview of the augmented reality market. But first, I'd like to talk about this graph from Gartner. So every year they release the hype cycle. So basically you have new emerging technologies that are enter the market. So if you look at the very first one, so you have Stardust, 4D printing, etc. So these are just emerging and they are clearly not ready yet. So you can see a little bit higher, you've got 5G as well. So I'm not sure how far off this is, but if you so the hype gets higher and higher and higher, and then you get to a peak, And from that peak, you you fall down completely, because this is like disillusionment, right? And people are like, okay, well, I thought this was going to be great, but actually there are quite a few barriers there, and the technology is not ready, etc., etc. But as you can see, augmented reality has just um, finished its period of disillusionment, and we are now about to enter something that for the next 5 to 10 years is going to grow exponentially. And there are lots of figures out there, but this is from Statista, and they have some really big numbers, and it doesn't matter which numbers you look at from whichever company that does stats. All of them are saying that AR is going to be absolutely massive. And if you see that, well, you are here, so 2018 still quite small. Um, in the next couple 3 4 years, it's going to get absolutely huge. So this is the end of this presentation. I hope that it was useful and that you learned a couple things. If you want to get in touch with me, you can follow me on Twitter at LondonRom, and if you want to send me an email, feel free. It's romain@ubicolor.com. All right, take care and see you soon.